I reckon this is going to be one of those cars where we all look back on in about 10 years and go, why didn't we buy one of those again? This is the 2024 Genesis G70, top of the range model. They've reduced the range down to just 2 variants now, 3.3 twin turbo V6 as before, or you can get it with a 2 litre, sorry there's a bird going off in the background here. Yeah, 3.3 twin turbo V6, 2 litre turbo, 4 cylinder. I think this is the pick though, the 3.3, because you don't need to strain it. You can cruise along on the highway and you actually get pretty good economy. But then you get that performance benefit as well. The latest update has brought just some minor changes to the trimmings. This example's got like a shadow chrome grille with black trimmings there. And also same sort of shadow chrome trimmings for the windows as well. I really love this color too. It looks really luxurious and fresh and prestige. I don't think these are going to last much longer. I think Genesis will switch to electric for the next generation, which means, yeah, it's a bit sad. You might as well grab these while you still can, because as I said, I reckon in about 10 years time, we'll be looking back at these and just thinking, you know, why didn't we buy these? It's a little sedan, rear wheel drive, twin turbo V6, heaps of power, handles really good and goes really hard. And then if we have a look at the interior, it's probably one of the nicest interiors of this class. On the main dash fascia here, you've got the common controls, so you don't have to dive into the touch screen all the time. Although you can, it's quite a nice touch screen. Only thing I don't like about it is when you're going through radio stations, you've got to go up here, then you go to station list, then you can go through. But you can set your favorites just by hitting the star button there, so it's pretty easy. Then down below, you've got a separate panel for the climate control, so it's all very easy. Air conditioning button that's separate as well. Recirculate button that's separate as well. And then further down you've got quite a nice center console. Everything is covered in quality materials. You've got your drive mode switch there too. Wireless phone charging and multiple other charging sources, USB and a 12 volt socket. And in the center console you've got a USB-C port there too. All the upholstery and fixtures have a quality feel about them. You've got quilted leather on this example. It is bright white, so it's obviously going to show the dirt, but I don't mind actually having a white or a light interior because it does show the dirt. That way you can clean it, whereas if it's black, I feel like, you know, you're just sitting in filth all the time because you don't actually see the dirt. But it definitely brightens up the cabin and makes it feel a bit more spacious and airy and luxurious. There's a digital instrument cluster as well. It's got this 3D effect, which I don't really like. I think it's a bit of a gimmick, but you just go into your cluster display, 3D, and you can turn that to maximum if you want to. Don't know how that looks on camera, but I don't see the point in that. Is it trying to be an analog gauge, or what's it doing there? So it's just a bit weird in my opinion. I'll just leave it off. You've also got active sound design here as well, somewhere. Yeah, so here you can put it on an enhanced. Kind of hear it in the cabin a bit when you're idling, but more so when you're driving. Turn it off. Yeah, it's mainly when you're driving along and it's under load, or it might be speed dependent too. But yeah, I just leave that off. I quite like the sound of this. I think this has got a different exhaust, the new model, because I've noticed there's 4 tailpipes within the design. It just sounds a little bit different. It's got a little bit of a rasp to it, although it is quiet. I don't mind it. It's you might be surprised to hear me say I don't mind a quiet exhaust, as long as the actual noise that it makes is exciting. And it's got, well, this is, it sounds like a nice roaring V6 sound. It's not like a typical thrashy V6 sound either. It's got this sort of bassy note to it. It's quite nice. You've also got your speed limit warning as well, which you can turn all the way off, or you can just leave the speed limit information on without actually getting the warning all the time. Or you can just, yeah, turn it all the way off. So lots of adjustability there. You've even got a little boost gauge, turbo boost gauge in PSI. So we'll watch that when we go and see how high it goes. But yeah, overall it's a very well packaged cabin, especially for this price. The other main letdown, I guess, is the rear seat space. I don't think it's too bad, but if you're getting in and out of some of the rivals when you're shopping around, you'll notice this is a bit tighter than some of the rivals, especially in the middle. You've got pretty much no room there at all, and leg room is quite limited. Even though I'm pretty short, it's still quite limited. You do have a center armrest here though, with cup holders. You've got charging ports, twin USB-C, climate vents, and you can even adjust the front seat from the rear in case you want a bit more leg room or something if there's no one in the front. Very nice trim on the ceiling as well. It's like an Alcantara style of trim, feels nice and soft, and it extends down most of the way down the pillar, but yeah, it does have that plastic, so the seatbelt can crash around in the plastic trim. That's pretty common. I've been watching that ever since I've been a car journalist to see who does that better. I think Volvo is one of the only companies that actually puts some trim all the way down the bottom, even on their regular models. Doesn't have to be leather or anything, just a material so it doesn't crash and bang. Although that's probably more durable, so over the years that's not going to scuff as badly if that was extended all the way down. You know, that'll start to wear a big mark there. And then around at the back, you've got a decent sized boot for this class. I noticed they've got rid of the 3.3T badge from the back here. I don't know if it's just this example. Electric boot, which I find a little bit pointless on a sedan. Not just criticizing Genesis there's a lot of sedans that have that. A decent sized boot as well for this class, and a space saver spare wheel under the floor. And then down below there's those exhausts, so they're kind of square almost. Quad outlet though, and then there's this oval trim piece. As the air hits that, it might make a bit of a noise. It's got this very faint sort of raspy sound to it, and you can have a listen later on anyway. We'll go for a drive now and then we'll get stuck into the performance testing. I think the best time I've ever achieved out of one of these is about 4.7 seconds 0 to 100. That was in, I think, 2018 or something on the old P-Drive channel. That was the base spec or the lowest spec version of the V6, whereas now it's just a one trim spec only. So it might be a little bit heavier. I don't know. I haven't looked at the actual weight figures yet, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, this engine is definitely very responsive. It feels agile in its power delivery, and it goes hard too. The gearbox is probably the main letdown in terms of a driver's car perspective. It's just not as precise, and there's no definite manual mode. I've just clicked the paddles and it goes into a manual mode, but if you leave it for a certain amount of time, it will just go back into default, back into D, which is a little bit disappointing. But you know, this is not setting out to be a dedicated performance car. It's just a luxury car that's also very quick and enjoyable. The differential seems to be a bit sort of strange in my opinion. It's like it's got torque steer, but from the rear wheels, and I mean the proper meaning of torque steer, with, you know, microscopic axle wind up from left and right, and then it sort of propels left and right as it catches up, and so it's kind of like twists a bit as it's driving under full power, where it's kind of not quite scrambling for traction, but there's still this sort of twisting effect. But yeah, there's no denying the speed of this thing. It's actually a really fast little sedan. And the suspension is doing well too on this pretty ordinary road. I've taken, you know, hardcore hot hatches and supercars down here, and they, you know, bump and bounce around, whereas this is absorbing the bumps quite well. even with that huge amount of power going to the rear wheels. Well, not huge amount, but lots of power going to the rear wheels for this size vehicle. Even from low RPM, I'm in 3rd gear now. We'll just come around this bend. I'll slowly apply power. It picks up with no real hesitation. It's not bogging down at all. Look at that. The steering is quite nice too. I can feel what's going on. I can feel if it's going to let loose, but so far it's gripping up really nicely. Even down around that sort of off-camber bend, applying some power, it just grips up and goes. Yeah, a great little driver's car. Alright, let's check out the performance.